I want to look at something now that's a very important aspect of creating a website. I want to consider the importance of SEO, or search engine optimization, to give it its full title. Whenever you create a site, you do want strangers from around the area, if not the world, to find your site. In our case, I want people browsing for Cheshire villages to find this fictitious site geographically focused on the Cheshire village of Stockton Heath. Now, before I get started, I do have to say, though, that the implementation of SEO for a site would probably take a full course of its own to discuss it fully. So, in this lesson and the next, I'll look at some minor but important things you can do to help your site become more visible to search engines. I'm going to start in this lesson by looking at the use of heading tags. Although a closely guarded secret, search engine algorithms are known to look at the words or phrases you use within heading tags. It stands to reason, therefore, that you should focus attention on using text for your headings that mimic natural phrases or words employed by users when searching on Google or other search engines. Make sure you are looking at your index page. Now, at present, our first line of text here is this line: Stockton Heath, the little village with a big heart. Well, that's a good slogan, but in my opinion, it doesn't do enough to mimic a genuine search phrase that is likely to be used. So, we don't want to waste this heading here. And if we look down at the Properties Inspector, you'll see in this Format field that this line of text is set to be Heading 1. And Heading 1 is the most important heading tag that we can use. So as I say, we don't really want to waste a Heading 1 tag with just that phrase there. Yes, people searching for Stockton Heath will find the village name there, but really we could do with improving this and replacing it with a phrase that draws people in naturally. Now, I'm not going to do it for this lesson. I'll have a think about what phrase I do want to use here. By the way, just out of interest, if you do want to change from Heading 1 to a different format, then use this drop-down arrow here, and then this will automatically open up this dialog. Now, as I've said in previous lessons, this is going to open up right next to your Format field here. It does ordinarily on my system, but for some reason the screen recording software creates this glitch in that it places it up here. Anyway, regardless, as you can see, you can change it from Heading 1 to something else. Maybe if you don't want this line to be an actual heading tag at all, then you could change it to paragraph. But of course now we are near enough eliminating this phrase from search engines. So I'm going to go back, I'll click down here once more and revert back to where we were, Heading 1. Now, rather than me thinking of another phrase that I can place in here instead of what we've got, I'll have a think about that to see what I can come up with. For the moment though, I want to scroll down our page, so I'll left click here and use our vertical scroller because I want to come over here to our left hand side column where we've got these titles: Latest News and Employment, and further down just out of sight there is another title. Well, these titles are okay. They do exactly indicate what the following content is. I.e. here, with latest news, underneath we can see that latest news content. However, we should be making use of these titles to help our SEO. I don't think anyone in the county of Cheshire is ever going to type in the simple phrase latest news and expect to be taken to a website featuring Stockton Heath. So let's combat this. As you can see at the moment, when I select anywhere within this latest news, then down in my format field, well, this at the moment is set to paragraph. Well, I want to change this, so I'll click on this drop reveal arrow once more, and then with the resulting dialog, I'm going to change this to our secondary heading, heading number 2. As I said at the beginning of this lesson, when we use headings like this, then this automatically makes the search engines notice our site. I'll change it to heading 2 then, as I say, but with it only being called latest news. Well, I want to make this more targeted to the county, so I'll remove where it says latest. I'll place my cursor at the end of latest there, and then repeatedly hit the backspace button until it's removed, and then I'll replace it with Cheshire. So now we see Cheshire News, which is more likely to be a term that a user is going to use within a search engine, particularly, of course, when they are searching for Cheshire News. I'll come down to our next title, Employment. Notice when I click within here, also the format down here registers as paragraph at the moment. So I'll change it. I'll click on our drop down arrow and then change this to heading 2 as well. And that's something to remember. You don't simply have to have one title per heading. You can have a number of different titles for heading 2 should you want to. And as I did with the Cheshire News, I'm going to make this a little bit more Cheshire focused. And rather than it saying employment, I'm going to replace this with Cheshire Jobs. And then if I place my cursor at the end of employment there and backspace to remove it, we now just remain with Cheshire Jobs. Again, another term that users are likely to be using, rather than the simple term of employment. I'll scroll down once more and I'll select this title here, Meetings. I'll go through the same process and change this to a heading 2 tag as well. And I'm actually going to call this Cheshire Meetings. So once I've typed it all in, then we're now good to go. We've now got 3 new titles using the heading 2 tag. Now over here, next to our photograph, where it says Stockton Heath Restaurants, well, you'll notice once I select it that my format here is also heading 2. I'm going to leave this as Stockton Heath Restaurants, simply because I think that is a search term that a lot of users are likely to employ. Okay then, so that's us done. Well, for this page anyway. Now I say that in terms of adapting our headings for heading 1 and heading 2. As we've seen during this lesson, focusing our attention on particular words or phrases that are likely to be used in the real world by users when they are using a search engine really does help our site's significance within the search results.